Hello everyone, once again a very good morning to you. Welcome to Cheshire and the Oulton Park circuit for our next race in the Ferrari Challenge UK Series for 2024. Yesterday's race, well, plenty of talking points to be honest. Yet another victory for Robert Rees in Copershell. He's made it 3 out of 3 so far. He will be gunning in qualifying to make it a great grid position for him to be able to bank 4 out of 4. Somewhat disappointment for Gilbert Yates in Trofeo Pirelli, who'd done everything perfectly, Amanda. Pole position, P1 on the grid, leading the race with a comfortable margin, and then disaster befell.
That's right, yes, it was absolutely devastating for Gilbert Yates yesterday. He'd been dominant really all the way through the 2 free practice sessions, and again in qualifying, was leading the race, and then it was just one of these silly little things that can go wrong in a car, which meant he wasn't able to finish the race and bank those points. So devastating for him, but he's put it all behind him now. He had a good night. He's looking forward to today's race as well. And of course, he's sharing the garage with Andrew Morrow, who was hot on his tails yesterday, really again through all of the sessions as well, and ended up taking the win, but not without problem for him either, because of course he had a small suspension part fail on the last lap, a few corners towards the end, so he was still able to take the checkered flag and limp home. So lots of action and activity yesterday, and I think there's an awful lot to look forward to in today's race as well.
And perhaps this is not what we give enough due consideration to, Amanda, because there are so many working parts within any race competitor. You're talking about engineers, teams, cars, and of course you as a driver, and you need every one of those components to be really on their game to elevate you to the success that undoubtedly you deserve. And it can be the tiniest of thing that puts the proverbial 19mm spanner into the works.
You're right, it can. And of course, you know, these guys, not all of them have got a huge amount of experience. Some guys do and some guys don't. And the problem is when something small goes wrong like that, it can actually really put you off your stride. It can undermine your confidence. And if you don't know what's going wrong with the car, but you can feel that there is something wrong, again, that can sort of make you lose concentration and then lose pace as well. So you need everything working together. And that's why this series works so well, because of course the drivers have all got their driver coaches in their ear who can talk them through, who can reassure them and give them a lot of guidance. And so really it's a hugely accelerated form of learning.
As a experienced racing driver and successful driver yourself, Amanda, as well as being top broadcaster.
You're head of the PR department.
Yes, it's another box ticked. How easy is it when you've had a downer to compartmentalise that, put it to the back of your mind? Because for me, it would always be there. You know, you do have to compartmentalise and get rid of it, don't you?
You do, but the most important thing is to learn. So every single experience, whether it's good, whether it's bad, is learn from that. And really, that's what they're going to do. So just, you've got to put it behind you. You can't dwell on it. You know, as they say, you can't cry over spilt milk. It's gone. Those points have gone. Whatever happened, it's gone. But what you can do is learn and then just become a better, more all-round driver. And, you know, that's what these guys are doing. You know, I was talking to Gilbert earlier on. You know, he's chilled, he's relaxed, he's happy. He's looking forward to qualifying now. And I think actually what it's also done for him is put a little bit of fire into his belly, because he knows he's got the speed, he's got the confidence, he loves this track as well. So, you know, he knows he's got it in him and in the car. So for him, it's maybe just given him that little extra push.
Well, qualifying is what it's all about right now. And of course, if we run true to form, basically the drivers like Andrew Morrow just behind us, they'll go out on track on tyres that were used yesterday. Midway-ish through the session, they'll come in and take those older tyres off, put a new set of Pirellis on, and then it becomes that risk-reward calculation they have to make. How much of the rubber do they take out of those tyres in pursuit of the best possible grid position, knowing that they need rubber, of course, in the race as well, longevity.
Exactly. And the other thing this morning, oh God, Peter Hunter is absolutely sideways as he's going out of the garage there. It's actually a little bit cooler this morning than it was yesterday. So yesterday it was absolutely blazing sunshine and really hot temperatures, and that can actually put a lot of pressure through the tyres because they're going through huge heat cycles and they're also getting very, very warm. Today I've actually got my gilet on this morning because it is just as you know, it's a little bit overcast. It's going to warm up, but of course overnight the track will have got dusty, leaves will have blown onto it, and it'll just generally have sort of got a little bit mucky. So they're going to be going out on their old tyres now, clean the track up, get their eye in, and then, as you say, they're going to be putting their new tyres on a little bit later on, or at least a newer set. But yes.
Fair point, well made. As always, Amanda Stretton and I will try and bring you all the action down here in the pit lane during the course of qualifying and the racing. But of course, to keep us up to speed with everything that's going on as the light goes green right now, it's our race commentator, Mark Werrell. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Dave. Good morning, Amanda. Yeah, great to hear from them down there on the pit lane area, but the cars just starting to make their way out onto circuit for this all-important qualifying session. It's the second race of the weekend. It's the fourth round of the Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli UK for 2024. And remember, championship points are up for grabs. There's an extra point if you grab pole position, whether it be in Trofeo Pirelli or whether it be in Copa Shell. An extra championship point you can pick up, and single point could all be very important come the end of the season. So as they said, yeah, the air temperature is a little bit cooler than yesterday. I think it was 19 degrees when we got to free practice yesterday, but that cooler air, the denser air, will help the performance of the cars as well. So hopefully the weather will stay fine all day. Slightly bigger breeze than there was yesterday, but not by much. So whilst we get qualifying underway, let's look back at some of the highlights from yesterday's race. So a great day of racing yesterday. Disappointment for some and elation for others, with the win in Copa Shell going the way of Robert Rees for the third time in 3 races, and Andrew Morrow, the reigning champion in Trofeo Pirelli, claiming his first win of the season. So we've got a 30-minute qualifying session. All of the cars have just done an outlap in reality, so they're starting to head on to their first flying lap. But a bit like yesterday, it takes a couple of laps really to build the core temperature, not just the surface temperature of the Pirelli slick tyre that they all run, but the core temperature inside the tyre. Heat up all of that air that sits inside the tyre and get the tyre into the key operating window. As Amanda and Dave were suggesting, they'll largely be out on an older set of tyres just to see how things are and see how the track has evolved since yesterday. And then they'll come in, and if they've got them available, because they're only limited to 8 tyres over the course of a weekend, bolt on a brand new set of sticker tyres if they've got some available, and then really push for the qualifying times. The pole position time yesterday from Gilbert Yates was a 1 minute 39.077, which was not quite as quick as Gilbert had managed in a free practice, because in free practice 2 yesterday he was in the 1 minute 37 second bracket, 1 minute 37.799, and the reason he was slightly slower in qualifying is that the air temperature and the track temperature had all increased. So it actually meant that the cars were going slightly slower in qualifying trim because the track and the surface temperatures, air temperature and track temperature, just weren't allowing for it. So we'll try and pick up on exactly what may be happening in this session. So we've only had a couple of cars that have completed their first flying lap at the moment. Andrew Morrow and Gilbert Yates, the 2 drivers that are largely, I would imagine, going to be vying for pole position, have both completed a lap, but they're about 5 seconds adrift of what they will be doing come the all-important quick laps that will come in a little bit later on. Darren Howell at the wheel of the number 5 car, supported by JCT 600 Leeds, had a bit of track time missing yesterday. We didn't see him out at all in free practice 2 or qualifying, so he started off the back of the grid. He'll be hoping for better fortunes today as he threads his way up Deer Leap and comes over the start-finish line at the wheel of his largely yellow and white and blue machine. 2 drivers that are vying for potential pole position, Andrew Morrow and Gilbert Yates, are both just threading their way through Hislops and round through Knickerbrook at the moment. Andrew Morrow's car is the all-red car with the white stripe down the centre of it, and the Italian Tricolore stripes edging that. And Gilbert Yates, nice and easy to spot. His is red, but it's got the day-glow yellow flashes to the front of it. So they're just heading round through Druids now. One good thing about Oulton Park is that it's a fairly long circuit. It's 2.69 miles, and there should be plenty of Cheshire real estate to make sure you've got some clear tarmac to accelerate into, and that's exactly what Gilbert Yates is doing now. As he heads out of Deer Leap, he'll be starting to press on this lap. He's gone quicker through the first and the second sectors than anybody has done. Andrew Morrow, race winner from yesterday, dives for the pit lane. And the fastest lap that Gilbert Yates has just popped in is the fastest lap of the session as he heads out of Oulton corner. 1 minute 41.549 from Gilbert Yates. Absolute best through the first sector, absolute best through the second sector, was slightly slower through the third sector than he had previously been. And if you're wondering what the sectors are, well, the circuit is broken down into 3 separate sections. Add all of those sections together and that gives you the overall lap time, but we can see what the cars are doing at 3 separate points of the circuit. So the first sector brings the cars over the start-finish line through the first corner, the right-hander at Old Hall, along the avenue, down through the little right-hand kink at Denton's, and then tumbling down through Cascades, and then you head along the straight at Lakeside, and it's part the way along the straight at Lakeside that we get a time for that first sector. Then, after they've gone through Lakeside, you're into the second sector, so round through Island Bend, through Shell Oil's corner, through the left and right and left kinks at the Britain chicane, over Hilltop and down in towards the Hislop chicane, which is where Gilbert Yates is going at the moment. And then if you head out of Knickerbrook and underneath the pedestrian bridge at Clay Hill, that's where we get to the end of the second sector. And again, we can see what the cars are doing there. And then the third sector brings them from that point round through Druids, underneath the Warwick Bridge, through Lodge Corner, up Deer Leap, over the start-finish line, and we get a time then for the third sector. Add the 3 together, that's the lap time. And on this lap, Gilbert Yates has gone absolute best, quicker than anybody in the session through both the first and through the second sectors as well. So if he knits together the third sector, then he should be on for a further reduction of what is the provisional pole time. 1 minute 41.5 last time through, and he's down into the 1 minute 39s there. 1 minute 39.730 from Gilbert Yates, about 7/10 of a second shy of his pole time from yesterday. And remember, this is highly likely to be on slightly older used set of Pirellis as well. Fantastic orange glow from the brake discs as he dives onto the brakes and turns his way through the left-hander at Cascades, builds the speed all of the time down Lakeside. But through the first sector of this lap, he is about 1/10 of a second down on what he'd done on the previous lap, Gilbert Yates. The man who secured victory in Copa-Shell yesterday, Robert Rees, still resides in the pit lane at the moment, at the wheel of the Dick Lovett Swindon largely blue Ferrari. Sean Doyle is his driver coach over the course of this weekend, and he'll be hoping to stamp his authority on Copa-Shell. However, Peter Hunter, who is just turning his way out of Lodge Corner at the wheel of the Stratstone Manchester number 82 car, the silver car, is going to be somebody that wants to try and wrestle Copa-Shell victory and pole position from his grasp. So through has gone Peter Hunter over the start-finish line. The time from him was slightly slower than he'd previously gone, so there's no improvement there for the number 82 car. He's at the moment 7th quickest and 2nd quickest of the Copa-Shell cars that are out there. You can tell the two apart. The Copa-Shell cars have the yellow windscreen header, and if you run in Trofeo Pirelli, the more experienced drivers, you could argue, then it's got a red windscreen header. That's how you can tell the two apart. Now, Gilbert Yates has just gone absolute best through the middle sector as well, so again, if he can nick together the third sector, he could be on for a good time again here. Pranav Van Gala at the wheel of the green machine, the number 29, picks his way up Clay Hill. Morgan Hannafin is driver coach for this weekend. H.R. Owen, the dealer that he represents, turning his way through Druids. You can see good change of direction in that car as well. Really looks as though it's hooked up very well, that car. Pranav Van Gala, quicker than he's previously gone through the first and the second sector. He's currently 2nd quickest overall in the session, turning his way through Lodge Corner, gets on the power, nice and early, but you can see the car was beautifully settled as he got on the power with just over 20 minutes of qualifying remaining, and Pranav Van Gala goes quicker, still remains 2nd quickest, 1 minute 40.952 from him on that occasion. Quicker than he'd been through all 3 sectors, the first, the second and the third sector. Looks as though down in the pit lane, AJ Litt is busy chatting away to his driver coach, which is Jack Mitchell. AJ had his first race yesterday and finished on the podium, 3rd overall, more than pleased with that. and was very relaxed coming into today, was more than happy with the performance of himself and the car and the way that he'd been working with Jack Mitchell. So down in towards the braking area for Cascade, Hamandra Pillai representing Jardine Colchester. Hamandra in yesterday's race finished just off the podium, the number 19 car, in 4th place, which equalled his best result at Brands Hatch, where he was 4th in the opening round of the 2024 championship season. But on this lap, Hamandra Pillai is slightly slower through the first sector than he's previously gone. Round through Shell Oil's corner. Take that in 3rd gear. You shift up towards 5th almost as you head in towards the braking area for Britain chicane. Back down 2 gears again, down into 3rd. And then power the car, try and straighten up the exit to carry the momentum out of Britain's over Hilltop. And then just be careful where you brake going downhill in towards Hislops. You brake too late because you're braking downhill. You can end up just running wide, not apexing, or in the case of a couple yesterday when they're pushing really hard, they just couldn't get the car turned into the corner and had to bumble across the grass. But nice and neat and tidy from Hamandra Pillai, the Malaysian driver. Slightly slower through the first sector, slightly slower than he's previously gone through the second sector as well. So I'm not sure this lap is likely to be an improvement because the 3rd sector here is quite a short sector. So if you haven't quite knitted it together in the first 2, it's really difficult to try and make up that deficit through the final 1/3 of the lap. But he's pushing hard still. You can see the nose of the car dip as he heads onto the brakes, round through Lodge Corner, and then starts to accelerate his way up towards Deerleap and over the start-finish line. And that lap for Hamandra Pillai was slower than he'd previously gone. 1:46.0 from him on that occasion. We've just had a very good lap put in by number 82, Peter Hunter. 3rd quickest overall and quickest of the Copa Shell cars. Peter at his local circuit, 1:41.770. He will be very pleased with that one, would have thought. Pit lane's filling up with cars currently. Gary Redman, who's back in the championship for the first time since 2019, where he finished runner-up in Copa Shell, is in the pit lane. I can see that Gilbert Yates is there in the pit lane. About to leave the pit lane and head back out onto track is Pranav Vangala. Also in the pit lane is Darren Howell. Andrew Morrow comes back into the pit lane. Man who won the race yesterday and is the reigning champion. Hasn't really put a quick lap in as yet. But Robert Rees, who won Copa Shell, is out there on circuit now and looking to press on. He's on an out lap currently at the wheel of the Dick Lovett Swindon car. That's the blue Ferrari that's just heading its way, the 488 Evo, down in towards Denton's, onto the brakes. He's had a really fantastic start to the season, has Robert Rees. 2 Copa Shell wins at Brands Hatch, backed up with another Copa Shell win yesterday. He also secured pole position and got the fastest lap in Copa Shell. 15 points for the win, add the extra point for pole position, add the extra point for fastest lap. He netted 17 points, the maximum, yesterday. Turning his way through Shell Oil's corner. He's gone quicker than he's previously gone through the first sector of the lap. He's currently 11th quickest because he hasn't set a representative lap time just as yet. But we certainly know that Robert's got the pace this weekend. And looking at the way he's attacking this lap, he's pushing hard. Now, there is a little bit of traffic that's just ahead of him, which is Pranav Vangala, who is also on an out lap at the wheel of the number 29 car. Pranav will hopefully just blend out of the throttle and allow Robert Rees to go through at unabated speed. Nice and neat and tidy out of Knickerbrook. What does the second sector look like for Robert Rees as he heads underneath the bridge at Clay Hill? Quicker than he's previously gone through the second sector. But he is now starting to catch Pranav Vangala. I don't quite think he's going to catch him and get in the dirty air by the time they get towards Lodge. So he's just about got enough clear tarmac between himself and the car ahead. As he heads now in towards Lodge, it looks as though he might have backed off on this lap because the nose of the car didn't dip to the same degree as I would have expected. And no, a flash of the brake lights as he comes out of Lodge Corner suggests that, yeah, he did back off on that lap. Still went quicker than he'd previously gone, 1:51.158, but he was in the 1:41s yesterday, so that was still a slower lap, about 10 seconds slower than he'd previously done. Now we are halfway through the 30-minute qualifying session, and in the pit lane, as ever, work for the teams to be done. You can see them bolting a new set of Pirelli P0 slick tyres onto Andrew Morrow's car. Peter Hunter, who is 3rd quickest overall at the moment in the Stratstone Manchester car, is also having a brand new set of slick tyres bolted onto it. And by the look of things, Peter Hunter yesterday, I think, had James Littlejohn as his driver coach. That's Benny Simonson that's alongside him now. Was led to believe Benny would be taking over driver coaching duties today. So we'll see what Peter can do when he heads back out onto circuit. Still got some quick cars out there. Mike Dewhurst, who finished third in Copa yesterday, the beautifully liveried yellow, red and blue machine. Another one of the Dick Lovett Swindon supported cars. He is looking good on this lap, I've got to say, Mike Dewhurst. Quicker than he's previously gone through the first sector. He's currently third quickest overall of the Copa Shell machines. Again, you can see that orange glow to the brake discs as he heads in towards Shell Oil's corner. Very banked section of the circuit, Shell Oil's. Television pictures don't really do it justice, but you can really hook the car in towards the apex there at Shell Oil's. Uses all of the curves, but no more, as he heads round through Britain Chicane. Looks as though this lap is coming together nicely for Mike Dewhurst, who so far this season has had a couple of third places. He was third in the second of the two races in Copa Shell at Brands Hatch, 7th overall. That was exactly what he did yesterday, 7th overall and third of the Copa Shell cars home. Through Knickerbrook, having gone quicker through the first sector than he has previously gone. What does the second sector look like for Mike Dewhurst? That is not too shabby through the second sector either for Mike Dewhurst, so could be on for a good improvement here. He's now fourth quickest of the Copa Shell cars, because we have had further improvements, not least of which for Robert Rees, yesterday's Copa Shell race winner, who's now gone sixth quickest overall and second quickest of the Copa Shell cars. So Mike Dewhurst, what's the lap looking like? It's looked a neat and tidy one. It certainly looks as though it's going to be a fast one as he comes over the start-finish line. And Mike Dewhurst goes fifth quickest overall, second quickest in Copa Shell, an improved time of a 1 minute 41.907. So that's a very good lap from him, which means that Robert Rees, yesterday's Copa Shell winner, is now third. Now we're starting to see those cars that were in the pit lane with their brand new Pirelli slicks being bolted on, heading back out onto track. That includes Peter Hunter at the wheel of the number 82 car. That's the silver car just coming down in towards the braking area for Hislops. We've also got AJ Litt, who is going well. He finished in the number 88 car third overall yesterday. He has gone absolute best through the first sector, AJ Litt. So he did a best lap last time through of a 1 minute 41.115, which is his best of the session so far, but he's gone quicker than anybody through the first third of the lap. He has given away a chunk of time through the middle sector, though. That's largely because he had a little bit of traffic to deal with, so I'm not sure this lap is going to be a further improvement for him. But we'll keep an eye towards it. I think the time he's lost in the middle sector is going to undo some of the hard work that he had been doing. And we've also had a shuffle for the lead of Copa Shell, because Robert Rees at the wheel of the number 8 blue car has just gone to the top of Copa Shell, fourth quickest overall, 1 minute 41.317 from him. As expected, AJ Litt did not improve on that lap. Cars Exeter, the dealer that he is supporting and representing this weekend. So AJ Litt will try and string this lap together. Hopefully there's no traffic to compromise the lap for him this time through. Whilst he heads round through Island Bend, he's a little bit slower than he's previously gone. Out on circuit, Gilbert Yates has gone quicker than anybody through the first sector. The provisional pole sitter, already on a 1 minute 39.005, is looking as though he's going even quicker with the red and Dayglow car. Mike Dewhurst now leads Copa Shell as well, so that keeps bouncing round, doesn't it? Peter Hunter was leading at the early stage of the session, then Robert Rees led it, and now it's Mike Dewhurst at the wheel of the 78 car that's gone third quickest overall and leads Copa Shell, 1 minute 40.982, but Robert Rees looks as though he's on a good lap this time. Slightly slower, not by much through the first sector than he's previously gone, but Gilbert Yates, who had misfortune yesterday when he was leading the race, I think he's going to further stamp his authority on pole position here. Absolute best through the first sector, absolute best through the second sector. The number 11 car comes over the start-finish line, absolute best through the third sector as well. The perfect lap for Gilbert Yates, 1 minute 37.925 from him is exactly the tonic that he wants after the disappointment of yesterday. So he did pick up some championship points because he secured pole position and set the fastest lap in the race, but that's just 2 championship points rather than, you know, the mid-teens that he was looking for. But as Amanda and Dave were suggesting, you know, you can't change what happened yesterday. Put that behind you. All you can do is learn from it and crack on today. And Gilbert must be coming in today with big confidence. Disappointment from yesterday, but big confidence in that he'd got the pace. He knows he had. He was quickest in free practice 1 yesterday. He was quickest in free practice 2. He was leading the race, having set pole position because he was fastest in qualifying. And then it sort of unravelled a bit from there from him. So over Hilltop he'll come and in towards the braking area for the Hislop chicane, where he'll flick his way right and then left and then go back towards the left-hand side of the circuit to turn right at Knickerbrook. Again through the first sector, absolute best through the first sector again from Gilbert Yates. Next car over the start-finish line will be Steve Dobson. So through comes Steve. What can he do? The answer is improve. He goes 4th quickest in Coperchel, 7th quickest overall. Improved time of 1 minute 41.967. And Gilbert Yates further improves again as he came over the start-finish line. That was a 1 minute 37.925 from him. And Andrew Morrow now pops a quick win in as well. Yesterday's race winner. He at the moment is going to join Gilbert Yates on the front row of the grid. So through goes Gilbert over the start-finish line. 1 minute 37.780 now from the number 11 car, the Charles Hurst supported 488 Evo. All of the cars identical, 3.9 litre turbocharged engines, producing around about 670 horsepower. Plenty of torque as well from the V8 engine. You've got 760 newton meters of torque. So some of the drivers, particularly coming out of Shell Oils, will be short shifting out of there to use the torque to pull the car out of the corner. Steve Dobson down in towards the braking area for Hislop chicane. Again, those brakes working hard on his car. You could see the orange glow again as he stamped on the brake to get the car anchored up in towards the Hislop chicane. He's back on the throttle again, heading uphill and up towards Druids Corner. Very daunting part of the circuit. Get it right, it's hugely rewarding, but you carry so much apex speed through Druids. It is easy to let the car run wide, and if you do have a problem there, it's a very, very fast corner, and therefore it ends up being not a small incident. So Gary Redman comes over Hilltop. This is the grey car with the orange and black flashes to it. Grey Paul Nottingham is the dealer that he is driving for, who've had good success in as a dealer in Ferrari Challenge UK over the years. Carl Cavers was representing them last year. Also John Dillon, who was out at Brands Hatch, represented them last year as well. Now for Gary Redman, what can he do? So it's the first time back in the championship since 2019, where he finished runner-up in Coperchel on that occasion. How is the lap coming together? Well, he's quicker through the first and the second sectors than he's previously been. Just turning his way round through Lodge Corner now and charging his way towards the line. He is 11th quickest currently, and as he heads over the start-finish line, he improves his time, but he remains 11th quickest, 1 minute 42.359. He needs to try and carve another half second, just over, out of his lap time if he wants to move himself a position up on the grid at the moment. So downhill in towards the left-hander at Cascades. This lap so far looks nice and neat and tidy. Be careful not to run wide coming out of Cascades. If you run beyond the red and white painted curb at any point of the circuit, certainly in qualifying, you are highly likely to lose that lap time because you've been deemed to have gone beyond the circuit limits. That was all neat and tidy from Gary Redman. We'll see how the rest of the lap strings together for him, because he was quicker through that first sector than he had previously been. And he is looking to try and overtake, in terms of grid position, Steve Dobson, who at the wheel of number 74 car will be heading towards the start-finish line before too much longer. Our race winner from yesterday is also about to conclude a lap. Number 1, Andrew Morrow, proudly supporting the number 1 as the champion. Quicker through the first sector than he'd previously been. Not quite as quick through the second sector, and not quite as quick through the third sector. So his best lap is a 1 minute 39.2 from the Irishman. That was a 1 minute 39.3, so just a tenth of a second shy, with 6 minutes of the qualifying time still to go. Gilbert Yates, the provisional pole sitter, back in the pit lane currently. He did lose a lap time because he had gone beyond the circuit limits, but Gilbert is currently 1.3 seconds quicker than Andrew Morrow, so I think he's doing a sensible thing, Gilbert Yates, just parking the car in the pit lane for the moment. He'll respond and go back out if he needs to, but if he doesn't, he's saving a bit of life from those Pirelli tyres for the race later on. Now Andrew Morrow on this lap, the number 1 car, slightly slower again through the first sector, not by much, and he needs to try and find something because he's no longer provisionally on the front row of the grid. Pranav van Gala at the wheel of the number 29 car goes second quickest, 1 minute 39.122 from Pranav van Gala. So the reigning champion is now third quickest in this session. Van Gala was 4th. He went quicker than Hamandra Pillai. He went quicker than Andrew Morrow, but Hamandra Pillai responds, and now he goes onto the front row of the grid provisionally. 1 minute 39.113, just 9/1000ths of a second quicker than Pranav Vangala went. So through Shell Oils goes Pranav Vangala, so briefly provisionally onto the front row of the grid, but now 9/1000ths of a second slower than Hamandra Pillai. So Pranav Vangala looking to try and carry as much speed through Britons as he could, but to me there it didn't look quite as tidy, maybe a bit too late on the brakes, and didn't quite get the car tucked into the apex and pick up quite as much curb as I would have thought. So he may well back off the lap. We'll have to wait and see what the middle sector looks like. Around about 46, 47 seconds through the middle sector would tell you that he's still on for a reasonable lap, and he's gone nearly 48 seconds through that middle sector, so it's not quite coming together. And it certainly isn't coming together for Darren Howell, who's had a bit of a problem with the number 5 car. There's damage to the tail end of his car, so he's had an off somewhere, and he is limping the car in towards, I think that's Shell Oils. See, the back end of his car has taken a bit of a bite into the barriers by the look of things. The car's still working its way around the track, but there's certainly bodywork damage, rear wing damage, and by the look of things, suspension damage, and that must be the early stage of the lap, because he's parked the car up on the Foster's circuit link. So whether it was Old Hall Corner or whether it was down in towards Cascades, but with 3 minutes to go, that's his qualifying done, I'm afraid. Now Peter Hunter is about to conclude the lap. Manor was hoping for pole position in Copershell. He's only 5th quickest of the Copershell cars in the number 82. Over the start-finish line he comes. He's chasing Hamandra Pillai around the circuit as they head up towards Old Hall Corner. And then the big question is that are there yellow flags out on circuit because of where Darren Howell has parked the car? I think he's parked it well and truly out of harm's way, so I think localised yellows might not be present down there at Cascades, because he has got the car well and truly out of the way. Marshals will be chatting to him, but if there are yellow flags, of course, you've got to slow up through that yellow flag section. And for Peter Hunter, has he slowed up through that section? I think he might have done, you know. Yes, he has. He's backed off the lap. He was too close to Hamandra Pillai. It wasn't going to count. So both of them have substantively slowed up as they head up towards Shell Oils Corner. What they will be doing is now trying to coax the car round and then maybe have one further roll of the dice. Hamandra Pillai actually lost his lap time for going beyond the circuit limits. So he drops back down from 2nd down to 4th. The lap time was removed that put him onto the front row of the grid provisionally. So now it's Pranav Vangala that re-inherits provisional 2nd place. Andrew Morrow provisionally is 3rd at the moment, and Hamandra Pillai has got, if he wants it, with less than 2 minutes to go, one further roll of the dice. Into the pit lane comes Mike Dewhurst. Good qualifying session from the number 78 car in the hands of Mike. 2nd quickest of the Copershell drivers. His best lap time, a 1 minute 40.9. That's just a 1/10 of a second shy of the pole time in Copershell, which is looking as though it's going the way of the number 8 car of Robert Rees, who also trundles his way down in towards the pit lane. We've got Gilbert Yates in the pit lane, Andrew Morrow in the pit lane, Pranav Vangala comes down the pit lane. Hamandra Pillai is going to continue with one further flying lap. The number 19 car, who had gone 2nd quickest, of course, lost that lap time because he'd gone beyond the circuit limits, is now just one further tour of Oulton Park circuit away from seeing whether he can get that car back up onto the front row of the grid once more. So nice and neat and tidy through Old Hall Corner. Over the bumps as he went down in towards Denton's. The car just looked slightly unsettled there as it caught a very small bump. And he'll press on as he heads out of the left-hander at Cascades, seeing if he can do anything about getting himself back onto the front row of the grid, which at the moment is going to have Gilbert Yates and Pranav Vangala, who we've just seen in the pit lane, receiving the congratulations of the team. First sector for Hamandra Pillai is not too slow at all. He has been through it very slightly quicker in the past, but he's not that much slower through the first sector than he's previously gone. It's very neat and tidy also through Britons, just clipped the curbs and the apexes beautifully and propels the car over Hilltop in towards the braking area for the Hislop chicane. Again, you can see the nose of the car dip. Can he get it turned in towards Hislop's apex? Yes, he can. Get on the power and then off the gas again as you then pitch the car in towards the right-hander at Knickerbrook. Almost ran out of room there coming out of Knickerbrook because he's pushing so hard. The second sector for Hamandra Pillai, again, is very slightly slower than he's previously gone. There's also potentially a little bit of traffic that he might just catch round at Druids, and I think that's Gary Redmond's car that he is closing in on. Gary, I think, is sticking with his lap as well, so he doesn't really want to move out of the way, and I think as a result of that, Hamandra Pillai has had to back off, and I think Gary Redmond has backed off as well, so don't quite think it's going to come together for Hamandra Pillai. So it does look as though fourth is where he is likely to line up. Gary Redmond dives for the pit lane. Hamandra Pillai realises that the lap wasn't going to come together. He dives for the pit lane as well. Over the start-finish line comes Peter Hunter, and what can he do? He goes to the top of Coperchel with a brilliant last roll of the dice. 1 minute 40.742 from Peter Hunter means that the local man now is going to start 6th on the grid and is also going to be on pole position. That's the extra championship point going his way for pole in Coperchel. So checkered flag is out. Everybody has either taken it or is already in the pit lane, but Peter Hunter left it until the dying seconds of that qualifying session to stamp his authority on Coperchel. What might he be able to do come the race later on? Because certainly himself and Robert Rees and Mike Dewhurst are the 3 drivers in Coperchel that seem to be matching each other for pace over the course of this weekend. And those are also the top 3 drivers in Coperchel: Peter Hunter, Robert Rees and Mike Dewhurst. So Hamandra Pillai out of the car. Everybody else trundling their way down the pit lane. And then all of the teams and the driver coaches will be looking back through the data, assessing what they need to do, putting the strategy into place, and getting ready for our 4th round of the championship that will be coming up later on this afternoon. They're due to be back out on circuit around about 3:15. We should see the cars back out on circuit for their second 30-minute race, round 4 of the championship, before we then head to Norfolk and Snetterton on the 300 circuit in just a few weekends' time, over the course of the 8th and 9th of June. But let's confirm the qualifying then. Gilbert Yates was fastest of all, with Pranav Van Gala second quickest. Andrew Morrow, yesterday's race winner, 3rd quickest in the end. Hamandra Pillai was 4th, with AJ Litt finishing in 5th place. And in 6th place, that's the fastest of the Coperchel drivers, Peter Hunter doing it on his very final qualification lap. Robert Rees was 7th, yesterday's race winner in Coperchel. Mike Dewhurst was 8th. Steve Dobson was there in 9th place. And Darren Howell, who had problems in that qualifying session with some damage to the car, completes the top 10. And then as we head just outside of the top 10, it will be Gary Redmond who will be in 11th place. So, with qualifying having been completed, let's look back at some of the highlights from the session that we've just seen. Well, Gilbert Yates was hoping to make amends for the problems that befell him yesterday and was looking to try and pick up the early pace in this qualifying session, whilst Robert Rees, who claimed victory in Coperchel yesterday, was hoping that he might be able to qualify back on pole position. The critical thing at Oulton Park is trying to find a clear piece of tarmac to accelerate into. Championship returnee Gary Redmond was hoping for good things. As it is, he will start off the back of the grid. Robert Rees was unfortunately not able to grab pole in Coperchel. The overall pole position went the way of number 11, the same car as started from pole yesterday, Gilbert Yates. He will start from pole position later on this afternoon for the 4th round of Ferrari Challenge UK 2024. So with qualifying done and dusted, we should be able to get some reaction from down there in the pit lane. I think Amanda Stratton has found somebody to chat to.
I certainly have indeed. Gilbert, congratulations. It's wonderful, isn't it, when you can put a day like yesterday behind you and you can go out and be dominant today?
Yeah, you have to put it behind you. You have to refocus. So it was a great qualifying.
So just tell me, what was the car like? I mean, you were putting in faster lap, faster lap, faster lap. Obviously, you're feeling really quite comfortable in it.
Yeah, so I went out first in the race tyre yesterday, so I was able to do a 3.9, and that gave me a lot of confidence. I knew them with a new tyre, and I was sitting pole at 3.9, but I knew with a new tyre could do maybe another second, so we got down to 3.7, so I was very happy.
I bet you are. I mean, that's absolutely terrific. And what are you looking forward to in the race today? I mean, conditions are a little bit different as well, a bit cooler. Yeah,
track's a bit cooler, so the race could be faster, the race pace could be faster. I just want to get a clean start away and hopefully be in the front in turn 3 and hopefully get a small gap and move from there.
Well, listen, Gilbert, congratulations. You have your Trofeo Pirelli pole position trophy again today. Let's hope that you can translate that into a win later on.
Yeah, good
luck. Dave, over to you.
Thank you so much, Amanda. We're just awaiting for the for the star of the show here, Peter Hunter. Once again, TV gold, leaving it to the last minute for us, you rotten devil. And well done. You put the lap in that you needed, and you could not have been more delighted when you jumped out of the car.
I know. As I said to my wife last night, I'm going to come first today. So, yeah, it was...
Well, listen, it's our privilege to present you with the Rotiform Pole Position Award. Of course, it gives you the best possible grid position, P1.
Yep.
Not only that, it's a point to bank as well.
It is.
So add the win, the fastest lap in the race this afternoon. I'm setting you, just your objectives for this afternoon, Peter Hunter. But actually feeling in such a good place after qualifying, it must make you feel great for the race ahead.
It really does. The only problem I've got now is I've got such a talented driver in Robert Rees chasing me, biting me at every point, that it's going to be great because it's going to push me on, because yesterday's race, because there was such a gap and it was so fanned out, it was a bit boring. So today I'm looking forward to him chomping at me.
Go and enjoy a drink, you deserve it. But many congratulations once again, Peter Hunter. What a star you are. Amanda, I understand you have another star to talk to.
I certainly do, absolutely. Thank you very much, Dave. Yes, Pranav, fantastic. P2, I mean, you really are on a roll. You seem to have found your rhythm.
Thank you. Yeah, I couldn't be more pleased with it, to be honest. I really am not sure where the full... I almost got a second down on yesterday, so I think just, 2 or 3 parts of the track, spending a lot of time with my coach and with data, ended up really paying dividends today, and I managed to get maybe 1 or 2 clear laps and put a good one in when I could.
Now, listen, you had a podium yesterday. I mean, obviously, everything can change in this race, as we saw in yesterday's race as well. Do we think we might see you up there again today?
I'll give it my best shot. I'd love to be up there again, of course. I think the champagne-smelling suit aside, it's a wonderful experience. No, I'll 100% will be pushing, but I also know that there's some very fast guys behind me, so we'll be pushing to make sure I can try and keep them there for the race.
Well, listen, the very best of luck to you. Thank you very much indeed. Well, that was the end of another epic qualifying session. Lots of excitement. And I think what it really means is that we've got a huge amount to look forward to later on in the race. So you can join us then when we will be on the grid looking forward to round 4 here at Oulton Park.